Sorry, actually playing. Sorry, actually playing golf in like 20.
At Mara, who's at that press conference, and Matt should begin at any moment.
social distancing.
This is our new normal in Colorado. Patios of some of Colorado's most popular restaurants completely empty, even in perfect weather. In the first 3 weeks of March alone, the Colorado Restaurant Association estimates that the state's restaurant industry lost $465 million in sales. 150,000 people lost their jobs. 3/4 of restaurateurs had to lay off workers, and more than half say they'll do it again in the next 30 days.
We're really trying to do this to hold our staff together.
Uptown's Las Delicias hasn't had to let people go yet thanks to to-go orders.
Pretty much slow. Our sales have dropped drastically.
But plummeting sales have forced them to cut payroll by 65%. Many other restaurants like D-Bar across the street are closing until they can get back to full service.
I mean, in my career, I've gone through lots of things, hurricanes and 9/11, and, never did I have to lay off my entire team.
Owner Keegan Gerhard had to tell 50 people that they won't have jobs until this is over.
They're my employees, but we talk about family at D-Bar all the time. We're a very close-knit group of people.
He's confident his family will be reunited. Others won't be as lucky.
We're going to see fewer restaurants, there's going to be some permanent closures.
Sonia Riggs is president of the Colorado Restaurant Association. They conducted a survey of Colorado restaurants on March 22nd. 14% of owners said they'd permanently close if stay-home orders got extended. That's exactly what happened Monday, and it won't be business as usual for those who manage to still operate.
But once they do start to open back up, it's probably going to be social distancing. I mean, maybe instead of having 100 tables in your restaurant, you have 30 to start off with.
A slow start would be better than nothing, and it's up to all of us to stay home to get that ball rolling.
Just anxious to look people in the eye and thank them for coming to D-Bar.
In Denver, Ryan Harrell, 9 News.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are joined by Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, Senate President Leroy Garcia, Speaker Designee Alec Garnett. Earlier today, I also spoke with House and Senate Republican leadership. An update on where we are: 4,331 new cases today. At this moment in time, 1,378 Coloradans are currently hospitalized. So this is very, very real in our hospitals. Most will make it out, some won't. And in fact, we have lost 2,299 Coloradans due to COVID. I attended my first funeral for a friend that I lost due to COVID this last weekend, socially distanced and much smaller than it would have been. But I know that many have suffered loss. Brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, and we now continue to see our state on this exponential growth curve that we must stop to save lives and avoid overflowing our hospitals. Last week, over the span of 3 days, just to show how fast this virus can grow, we went from 3,500 cases a day to 5,100 to over 6,000. The 4,300 today is usually, we typically have lower early in the week because of less tests on the weekend that are processed. But this growth keeps skyrocketing. We now have over 1,300 patients hospitalized. That's more than we've ever had before. So remember how bad it was in March and April. There are more Coloradans hospitalized today from COVID than in March and April. Our hospitals are starting to get stressed now. They've had time in the last 6 months. They've built capacity. We're not at capacity. We're in a much better place than we were in March and April, but this trend cannot continue of the increases that we've seen in the last few weeks. And if we know anything about this virus, and we've seen it play out elsewhere in much of our country, we're seeing it play out here, it enters these periods of exponential growth. And for decades in the future, scientists will study why it goes to these exponential growth patterns. And but
face right away, so it felt like coming into this that we don't have the finances to support growing
You're gonna take full.
Burrito wasn't working. It wasn't working before the pandemic. I just kept hearing over and over again that if you weren't making it before, you might as well close shop now. And that's all I was thinking about. And that's all, my partner Matt, he was same way. Erica probably. Everyone was just like, wasn't working before. We're not going to fight for this one. Let it go and focus on, where we can, whatever we can to sustain the group. I was working and trying to figure out things that would work. It was just every single night, less. We didn't even need to get mandated to close. We literally had not a customer. So despite this being a real sort of dark and dismal, slowly bleeding out kind of death, I was still we can continue on. It's not going to sink our company. Sometimes I was just sure, this is a distraction. I can just go on and focus on wolves or something, but I just wasn't ready to do that. We were committed to this idea with the dairy block, and I still want to make good on that. I still want to do my part. And, it was fun to kind of go well, nothing's going to work, so let's try something completely different.
All right, let's go. What's up, Draco? How we doing? Woodrow. Just got the boys in the chat. Yeah, you are.
Right now, in the here and now, welcome. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are joined by Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, Senate President Leroy Garcia, Speaker Designee Alec Garnett. Earlier today, I also spoke with House and Senate Republican leaders.
You know what I'm going to do here? Instead of listening to all this, we're going to do a new sequence, and we're going to transcribe this bitch. And we're gonna search for what we're looking for. Uh-oh. Chat's popping off. How's everyone doing? Goose. All right, well that transcribes. I'm gonna try to look for. Let's go dramatic. Can I be on my YouTube while I'm streaming? Is that a thing? Can that happen? Okay. COVID. I guess I already have one in here. Let's go. Oh, it's first breaking case.
The coronavirus in Colorado.
Governor Polis just minutes away from holding a news conference at the State Department of Public Health in Glendale. Fox 31 is on it with live team coverage. We do begin with Fox 31's Matt Mara, who's at that press conference, and Matt should begin at any moment.
We are waiting for it to begin right now, waiting to hear from Governor Jared Polis, health officials here with the CDPHE, the state health department, also the president and CEO of Centura Health, Peter Banco. This is what we know about this first confirmed case of coronavirus in Colorado. It is a man in his 30s who had recently been in Italy. He was an out-of-state visitor to Summit County. This man got sick up there, had an upper respiratory illness, which coronavirus is known to cause, was tested yesterday. It takes about 24 hours for these test results to come back. That test result here in Colorado came back positive today. Officially, it's CDPHE and the governor's office calling this presumptive until they send it off to the CDC. That's where the official confirmation comes in, and that goes ahead and puts it on the U.S. map, of which now at least 210 people in the U.S. have tested positive for the coronavirus. The New York Times reporting this afternoon at least 12 people have died because of it. Now, back here in Colorado, this man transferred from Summit County to the Denver metro area in isolation. For you can always find more about that on our website. And here's Governor Jared Polis as we speak.
Information for Colorado Today. First of all, we
Dramatic.
have joining us here today at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, Jill Ryan.
That's some contagion shit with right here, this angle. He's like, oh,
Officials
we got
talked about
quick.
it here, but one of the big things is a fever, some body aches, also a dry cough. Those are some of the big symptoms. We're going to hear about them from health officials. Governor Jared Polis just walking in. We'll get the exact symptoms for you. You can always find more about that on our website. And here's Governor Jared Polis as we speak.
Information for Colorado Today. First of all, we have joining us here today at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, Jill Ryan, the Executive Director.
All right, let's go. COVID-19 March 2020 news reports. I don't know. The newscast from the night that changed.
Parts of Europe and not too.
This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Several breaking developments tonight in the coronavirus outbreak.
The first, a major announcement from President Trump.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
Also breaking, New York City St. Patrick's Day parade now postponed.
More breaking news to tell you about the NBA tonight, suspending its season until further notice after a player tests positive for COVID-19.
And a big announcement from actor Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson.
Seeing Noah Reynolds DM Rudy Gobert on IG the other night was really fucking funny.
The two now in isolation, both saying they have the virus.
Meanwhile, these are live pictures from Kennedy Airport. Business as usual there tonight, but come Friday at midnight, it all changes. The U.S. closing its borders to parts of Europe and not to Americans. A very different situation than what the president initially said tonight. And now there is big confusion.
President Trump tonight imposed drastic new travel restrictions on people wishing to come to the United States from any of 20...
The next 30 days.
The president says we can't just
leadership has resulted in too few tests. Home of the largest cluster of coronavirus cases in America. There was no waiting at the
I
barbershop.
appreciate the dramatic
No
music
one breaking
behind
up
this.
the local pub.
Kind of cool.
And even with all the unsettling news these days, no one buying papers at the newsstand.
And if we stray into fear or panic or hysteria, that's ultimately self-defeating and it leads to bad decision-making. And there's no reason for fear.
The seriousness of this virus hammered home tonight in a way few
I spelled
could have
February.
imagined. The National
January?
About a new and rare pneumonia-like virus that has caused at least 2 deaths and has spread from China to other countries in Asia. And federal health officials don't want it to spread here, so they are screening passengers arriving from central China at 3 major airports. That type of screening hasn't happened since the Ebola outbreak. Here's Errol Barnett.
Additional health screenings begin here at JFK at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. The CDC deploying roughly 100 experts here to Los Angeles and San Francisco's international airports to assist. The hope is to prevent the mysterious coronavirus strain from spreading to the U.S.
This is a new disease, and information is really rapidly evolving, and so we're continuing.
I'll download it. We'll pull this. What if I said restaurants? Oh, what's this?
Yeah, Larimer Square looks great right now.
With a holiday weekend ahead of her,
Therapy for me is cooking.
and plenty of customers behind her,
And we have about 42 seats now in the patio.
Jennifer Jasinski is feeling as good as she's convinced her new dish tastes.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Jennifer is the executive chef at Rioja on Larimer. She also owns
That's still
Crafted
around?
Concepts.
Which is a group of restaurants in Denver, Colorado that owns Rioja, Bistro Vendome, Euclid,
Bye, Woody.
Stoic and Genuine, and Ultrea.
Go Celtics.
Sorry, I always said it starts at Euclid Hall, but
It shut down on March 16th.
so that's kind of a bummer.
Not an uncommon phenomenon in the midst of a pandemic. The Colorado Restaurant Association doesn't have a great grasp on closures yet, but says it's a lot.
It's sad, it's jarring.
Operating right now is a challenge. She couldn't imagine opening a new restaurant.
Wow, it's true.
But that's exactly what Casey Waxman and her partners are doing. My Neighbor Felix will celebrate its grand opening on September 12th.
8 days away, can't wait.
Right around this time last year, nearly 200 restaurants had opened in Denver. This year, the city's only seen about 120 openings, which Casey says makes it all the more exciting.
Everyone's just a little more excited than they normally would be.
Longer lead times on some items have been a challenge.
Of the pandemic, the nation is slowly pulling out of the nosedive that disrupted life as we know it. But recovery may still be a long way.
I don't know if we're gonna get anything with this.
We're doing the right thing. We're staying home like the government is asking us to do. So what is the government going to do about that? The CARES Act.
I think we'll be okay, but it's not sustainable for the long haul. We need to open up.
You know, there's a question of can we even make money if we reopen given the new social distancing guidelines? We had 3 full-service restaurants, and then as of March 16th, 17th, we were operating 1 sort of combined takeout menu out of 1 restaurant.
We've actually completely closed for 6 weeks.
Hey, Goose.
We used to do live music.
Counties that are entering the red phase, indoor dining is temporarily closed. Restaurants and coffee shops still offer takeout, delivery, outdoor dining. But even for the outdoor dining, it really should just be your household going out. It can be on a date with your your significant other. It can be your family of four, your family of five. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for stop this exponential growth to save lives and save our economy. We know that, for example, Parkview Hospital in Pueblo about save the lives of others. So works. It's good. Call surge capacity, meaning make sure that everybody who has COVID or has another illness like a heart attack or stroke has access to the best quality of care, hospital bed, an ICU bed if needed. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today we are joined by
COVID taught me a lot. COVID was like a big eye-opener for me that it doesn't matter your accolades or where you've been or where you're going. It can be taken away from you at any day. I've been going really hard for like 8 years, cooking and, you know, moving my way up, and from one day to the next, like, it was all gone.
Never thought that this restaurant would be open. You know, everyone asked me like, well, when is Bruto coming back, or when? I said, I don't know if it is. Most of the thoughts that were happening were around, you know, survivability, that this isn't gonna, you know, happen. We were thinking mostly exit plans. At the time, we just didn't have a choice. There was nothing that was providing us a pathway for getting this place reopened.
I just remember that I was just like on a mission to open this place up, and it didn't matter what they threw at us, it was gonna happen. I had blinders on. My objective that week was to get a restaurant open. I've done it before, but I've done it with more time, with more staff, with more this, with more that, you know, but this is what I was dealt with.
The Hail Mary was the sense that, is this even gonna work? I hated thinking about pulling him and everyone back into a situation that just fell on its face right away, you know? So it felt like coming into this that we don't have the finances to support growing a 10-seat chef counter into this big thing. Yes, this is a Hail Mary, but this is a game that we can win.
I wasn't going to let this opportunity go. So for me was, I'm going to take full advantage of what we have, and I'm going to run with it, and we're going to create something pretty cool in the small amount of time that we had.
feel like right here, I want to make it so that we've like flipped through channels of different news reports for COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And it's like slams the date across March 2020. I start in March though, or do I need to start in November?
Question: how do you find objective news coverage paired with some ghastly puns, all delivered in 10 minutes? Answer: this is CNN 10, and I'm Carl Azus, happy to have you along for the ride. It's been a roller coaster ride for international stocks this week.
My COVID experience, what was it like? Let's see, I worked for the city at Denver Golf, and that was a little weird. It was honestly like it was pretty scary for that first month. Obviously, I remember going to like I was living by myself and trying to go to a grocery store to get stuff, and there would be nothing on the shelves. I remember that. That's a vivid memory I had. I remember I was taking the 15L bus that goes down Colfax right to downtown. At the time, I was working in the Denver Post building. And I remember reading reports, like some stuff like this, and talking about this whole outbreak in this new virus would be happening. And I remember looking at my phone, reading about it, and then just looking around the bus like, oh, this bus definitely has whatever this is, so I'm fucked. Overall, I mean, I guess I can't really remember, to be honest. I remember like checking out and filling time. There was like a brief period where it felt like a vacation for sure amongst all of it. It was a weird time.
On this Tuesday night, another step closer to getting home. When Canadian citizens in China could finally be...
I have a crazy story of Jeanette's brother-in-law. His cousin had to go work in Wuhan for a little bit and was stuck like in Wuhan for a crazy amount of time.
Good afternoon, everyone.
The city asking residents who have reached the number of cases doubling in the New York City area overnight. The mayor today calling the spread unpredictable and worrisome. Many new cases tied to one man who took that train into the city, and tonight, another major move. The city asking residents who have recently traveled to any sort of hotspots around the world to self-quarantine. ABC's Whit Johnson from New York City tonight.
Tonight, the number of coronavirus cases doubling in New York to at least 22. Most linked to a lawyer who frequently commuted out of Grand Central Terminal, one of the busiest train stations in the country.
The community spread dynamic is unpredictable and worrisome.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And it was another day of fast-moving developments in this coronavirus emergency, and we will carefully get through it all right here with you tonight. We're going to begin with the states of emergency across this country.
The best part about that story, Johnny, is that he was there staying like in some family's like apartment, like high-rise apartment downtown, gets quarantined, doesn't speak Chinese at all. So he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And the whole time he had to watch their dog, and that was his only companion, was him and that dog. And he was like, the family couldn't come home, like it was a whole thing, and he just like him and that dog just hunkered down and they just had in a state of quarantine. And he said it was terrifying because they would just be like, you couldn't go outside because they would like jail people for going outside. They got really hardcore about lockdowns over there.
And now here in New York City, a state of emergency declared as well. Tonight, more than 1,300 people sickened in the U.S. At least 39 have died in this country.
Okay, what is the date? March 12th. Okay. This is cool.
The city asking residents who have recently traveled to any sort of hotspots around the world to self-quarantine. ABC's Whit Johnson from New York City tonight.
New York City now has a new ally in the fight for crucial supplies in the battle against coronavirus. Former
I might have to defer to some of our
The good news, the number of patients in Colorado hospitals with COVID-19 continues to level out, but there are still dozens of Colorado families mourning the loss of a loved one.
Points on Monday and Tuesday. Japan's Nikkei index dipped more than 3%. Key Australian stocks dropped 1.6%. Indexes were also down in Germany and London, stocks seeming to drop as the Earth spun around. The main culprit for this is a disease outbreak that started in Wuhan, China late last year. The new coronavirus is not as widespread or deadly as the flu, but it's mysterious. International health officials aren't sure how it started. They don't know exactly how it spreads. They're not certain how contagious people are when they get it. Because of all that, they've had to resort to serious measures to try to contain it. Closures, cancellations, lockdowns, and quarantines are some of those measures. In Italy, which has seen the worst outbreak in Europe, at least 322 people have caught the new coronavirus and 11 have died.
Italian authorities continue to monitor and to try to prevent the spread of coronavirus here in what is the first major outbreak outside of Asia. 11
Okay. Breaking news. Just go COVID-19 breaking news.
Health officials emphasizing there is no immediate danger to the public.
People should not be excluded from any activities based on their race, their country of origin.
As the number of worldwide cases climbs to more than 2,000.
Every little cough, every little thing, oh, am I getting a sore throat? Do I feel bad? Those kinds of things, they start to play with your mind.
The State Department today offering only a limited lifeline, saying in a statement it will evacuate consulate officials to San Francisco, but space for other U.S. citizens is extremely limited. China now says the virus spread is accelerating and is more infectious than previously thought, that it could be spread during the incubation period.
And Sarah's with us now, so how likely are they saying we are to see more cases?
Very likely.
Very.
Let's take a look at the actual numbers. We're going to start with the top line. Obviously, coronavirus cases in the United States, new confirmed cases, and over the course of the last several weeks, a clear trend line up, including several days last week, topping 50,000 cases. So what does that mean going forward? Well, take a look at the map. Now, 34 states in the country seeing new cases up 10% or more. 12 of those states, look at the dark red, up more than 50%. Obviously a harrowing number when you look at the top line numbers. But one of the big questions is death rate right now still lagging behind, not ticking up. But look at what those states are doing. This should give you a sense of the concern that's out there. Reopenings across the country, states are pausing, or in some cases, 5 states, when you look at the dark red, are actually rolling back some of their reopenings. The concern right now is real, and in particular, the concern keys on 3 states, Florida, Texas, and Arizona. You see the case counts as they continue to rise throughout those 3.
Tonight, the coronavirus surging back as cases across the country climb. More than 50,000 confirmed infections every day since Wednesday, with nearly 24 states seeing an increase of more than 1,000 cases in just 2 days.
I think Wisconsin is in a crisis.
Wisconsin this week reporting its highest daily case count and hospitalization total.
It's going to be a tough time. We got to stay cognizant of what's going on and stay vigilant.
The governor issuing a warning to stay home and avoid public gatherings. NBC's Shaquille Brewster is there.
Increasing concern here in Milwaukee as we saw a surge of people coming to get tested today. This as the city prepares to open additional testing sites.
In Oklahoma, a mass quarantine shutting down the Chelsea Police Department after every officer tested positive.
We do the best we can and certainly hope and pray that soon we'll be out the other side of this.
A second wave is threatening the Northeast. In the past 2 weeks, at least 6 eastern states have seen cases increase by more than 25%. Dr. Deborah Burks is sounding the alarm.
We're seeing as we take down our guard when we're with people we know. And we assume if I know you, you couldn't have COVID.
Meanwhile, in Arizona, cases dropped by 75% following local mask mandates, highlighting simple practices.
I think it's really important that we're very clear to the American people. Mask, physically distance, safe in public, but safe at home.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Let's take a look at the actual numbers. We're going to start with the top line.
All right, now to the latest on the coronavirus crisis. More than 630 people are dead, including the Chinese doctor who was targeted by police for warning about the threat of an outbreak.
Right now, there are 31,400 cases counted around the world.
The Chinese, more than 630 people are dead, including the Chinese doctor who was targeted by police for warning about the threat of an outbreak.
I didn't know that.
Right now, there are 31,400 cases counted around the world. Health reporter Haley Hernandez this morning with what's being done to address some rumors that we had here in Houston about.
Right, guys, so you remember that last week, the Houston Health Department shut down those rumors circling. They focused on the Jusco supermarket, saying it had closed down, but that was never true. Today, State Representative Jean Wu will hold a press conference.
We're going to turn now to the coronavirus tonight and the new report which shows just how quickly this can spread and multiply. How one conference in the Northeast attended by fewer than 200 people, researchers say, then led to an estimated 20,000 cases in the Boston area alone. There's also news tonight on potential vaccines and Dr. Anthony Fauci warning against rushing out a vaccine before it's been proven safe and effective. Here's Steve Osunsami.
There were fewer than 200 people who came to this Boston.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Tuesday night. And we begin tonight with that new warning from the CDC about the coronavirus here in the U.S., saying it is not a question of if, but when.
Ooh, let's go.
And saying Americans should prepare. Tonight, the CDC reports the number of those sickened stands at 57 in the U.S., all of them in quarantine and in treatment. The warning comes in part after the virus spread quickly across several towns in Italy. More than 200 cases reported. At least 10 people have died. And an Italian tourist testing positive on a Spanish resort island, a large hotel with 1,000 guests now on lockdown inside. And look at this tonight. In Iran, the deputy health minister testing positive for the virus after appearing visibly ill during a news conference meant to calm nerves about the outbreak. President Trump tonight saying he thinks it's going to work out fine, but lawmakers on the Hill asking questions. We begin with ABC's Steve Osunsami at the CDC in Atlanta.
U.S. health authorities tonight say there's no doubt we'll see more of this. Americans sick with the coronavirus who need to be kept in isolation.
The doors are specially sealed.
Carl Goldman is one of 57 Americans fighting the disease.
We are asking the American public to work with us to prepare in the expectation that this could be bad.
In their most clear warning yet, the CDC all but promises that the coronavirus will spread here and that Americans need to prepare.
We expect we will see community spread in this country. It's not so much a question of if this will happen anymore, but rather more a question of exactly when this will happen and how.
And good evening. Thanks for being with us on this Friday night. I'm Tom Yamas in for David. And as we come to the end of another week, the coronavirus is raging and on the move. This week, 13 states saw a record number of cases, 15 states a record of hospitalizations, and 7 states a record number of deaths. The death toll from the coronavirus, take a look, up 20% from a week ago. More than 145,000 lives have been lost. The Sun Belt, now the hardest hit, but the surge is moving north.
There are now more than 80,000 confirmed cases around the world, with close to 60 cases in the U.S. 15 confirmed cases are being treated in Northern California hospitals. All of those people evacuated from the Diamond Princess cruise ship docked off the coast of Japan.
In mid-January, a hospital in Everett, Washington announced a patient had tested positive for a deadly new strain of coronavirus, the cause of the yet-to-be-named disease, COVID-19. It was the first reported case in the United States. Concerning, but still a relatively small threat compared to the growing outbreak in China. But fast forward 6 months, and the United States has the most recorded coronavirus cases in the world. So how did it spread in the United States? Looking back, public health experts have pointed to a series of missteps and miscalculations in the US response. A response that has been polarizing and painful, and launched the country into a deadly game of catch-up with a pandemic that has yet to subside. The first major action the United States takes against coronavirus is to restrict travelers coming from China. The first...
Stupid restaurants. Baseball restaurants.
Pandemic is taking a hit on the restaurant industry. We've already seen several close. Others are just hanging on. CBS 42 News reporter Hillary Simon talked to a restaurant owner who says only time will tell what the future holds.
This is the new norm for Diplomat Deli in Vestavia Hills.
From the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses are closed or only offering food to go, and layoffs are widespread. Vladimir Duthier is tracking the plight of the restaurant business. Vlad, is it the workers or owners who are suffering the most here?
Anthony, it is both. With cities and states ordering restaurants and bars closed, except for takeout, everyone is feeling the pinch. Takeout requires fewer employees, but it also requires restaurants to alter their menus in order to survive. If they can.
This is Hot Side here. Burgers, fried chicken sandwiches, fries, shishitos, all that stuff.
For nearly a year, Nick Vanderstill has been serving drinks and food inside his neighborhood cocktail bar, Nobody Told Me. But that all changed last week when New York restaurants and bars were ordered to go takeout only.
So what do you think you will be able to do to keep the lights on?
I mean, for us, we have some money set aside. We're going to try to keep it there as long as possible. But hopefully just being able to run with delivery and takeout options for a bit, it's going to be able to help.
The plan? To pare down the menu and follow New York rules to become exclusively a takeout restaurant.
You've been in the business for a long time. You've seen ups and downs, but you've probably never seen anything like this.
Nothing like this at all. You know, everybody's going to kind of weather it together.
The day after this interview, Nick's partner called to say the math wasn't going to work out. They decided to shut down completely. It's a scene playing out around the country as restaurants and bars struggle to stay open through takeout-only mandates. In New York, Emmeline Zhao is offering a reduced price takeout menu at Little Tong Noodle Shops, thanks to a grant from the nonprofit Rethink Food that will help her continue to pay staff.
How are you feeling about the future? Are you worried?
Who's not worried? I think that the best thing that we can do right now is...
Pandemic is taking a hit on the restaurant industry.
Spoke to the president and CEO of Oklahoma's Restaurant Association, and he told me, frankly, he's not surprised by what we're seeing across the country and here in Oklahoma. Now, as far as what we're seeing in Oklahoma, he says that he's seen restaurants have to close down.
Across the country, small businesses are failing every day, and Spokane is no different. Local restaurants say unless diners keep supporting them, more will close for good. The trend is happening.
Spoke to the president and CEO.
This delivery man in Tarrytown, New York is none other than a top chef. Dale Taldy had to lay off 44 employees at his restaurant Goosefeather and is barely surviving on takeout and deliveries. So when he got a 50% tip, it was overwhelming.
You know, you have like 5 people left in the restaurant. It's like, you know, we're just doing our best to, you know, they have families to feed, they have mortgages to pay.
5 to 7 million people could lose their jobs in the coming months, and server Emily Tucker already has. We found her lining up for free food in Houston.
If this keeps going on for months and longer, I guess start looking at another career, but you know, this has been my whole life, so I don't want to.
A slice of the $2 trillion stimulus package is being served to restaurants. The government's now offering restaurants loans with interest to cover 2.5 months of payroll and tax breaks. Delfina Cardona has owned Cardona's in Chicago for 18 years. She laid off 10 of her 12 employees.
I feel like I want to help them, but I don't have enough money to help them. I feel like this is a nightmare.
She doesn't.
Let's see.
For restaurant and bar owners nationwide, a familiar dread is growing. Coronavirus is on the rise and their businesses are on the line.
We're probably looking at some days of no income, no revenue.
After surviving lockdowns last spring, they're now facing new restrictions. Starting tonight in New York, bars and restaurants will have to close dining areas by 10 p.m. The restrictions announced after new reported COVID cases in New York and New Jersey nearly doubled in just the last week. New Jersey's curfew went into effect last night. Amanda Cohen pivoted her New York City restaurant away from fine dining when she reopened in July. She fears more restrictions are to come.
We've tried to keep the logistics as simple as possible, knowing that going forward that we might actually end up having another lockdown and being forced to close.
In Minnesota, a similar curfew starts tonight. It's another blow for bars fighting to stay afloat.
A late night is one of our major pillars of business.
A pause on indoor dining in San Francisco forced at least one restaurant owner to lay off employees again.
We rehired about 2/3 of the employees, and now we have to let them go, and that hurts.
In South Dakota, where hospitalization rates are the highest in the country, Michael Haskett says he has still seen a drop in business despite having no restrictions.
I'm confident that I'll make it to spring, but I'm not 100% confident I can make it to spring.
Since the start of the pandemic, at least 1 in 6 restaurants drop in business despite having no restrictions.
I'm confident that I'll make it to spring, but I'm not 100% confident I can make it to spring.
Since the start of the pandemic, at least 1 in 6 restaurants has closed in the U.S. And even with restaurants reopening, there are still 2 million fewer industry jobs than there were before COVID-19 hit. And with temperatures dropping, an effort to keep outdoor dining going this winter may hurt more than help. Experts warn enclosed structures, even outside, could present the same risk as eating indoors, since there is limited airflow. A better option? BYOB. Bring your own blanket and sit in a more open setting.
Steph, there is this tension between saving jobs and...
Jeez. That's it. There's no other, there's no relief package. There's no, we're going to help here. It's just, you're closed. So, I understand the urgency of everything, and we're in uncharted territory here, but it's just such gross unpreparedness.
This is totally uncharted territory for us. I've been here for over 50 of those 66 years that we've been open. And I've seen a lot of things happen, 9/11, Hurricane Sandy, 2 blackouts, water main breaks.
Financially, it's a very nerve-wracking thing to hear. I woke up in the morning and I heard the news that tomorrow I won't go to work for nobody knows until when, and it's a really scary thing to know about. Like, maybe I have enough money for like rent, but what else am I gonna need or what?
For restaurant and bar owners nationwide,
restaurant businesses and food businesses are very tenuous. They don't have a lot of cash reserves, and they go from week to week. And that's the fact of the matter. I've been in the business my whole life.
Restaurants in the U.S. are reeling from social distancing measures aimed to slow the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The industry employs more than 15 million people in the United States, and many of them have either already lost and some restaurants are getting hit from another angle. The government-ordered shutdowns are part of a larger effort to enforce social distancing and limit large gatherings of people in order to tamp down on the
Just a few hours from now, a ban on outdoor dining goes into effect in Los Angeles County to stop the spread of COVID. Cold weather is already ending outdoor dining in much of the country, and CBS outdoor dining in much of Cold weather is already ending outdoor dining in much of the country, and CBS's Jim Axelrod reports that many restaurants may not survive the next few months.
After months of outdoor dining that kept the lights on at New York City restaurants like the Mermaid Inn,
this is the first time I've been here in 33-degree weather.
Winter is coming for co-owner Danny Abrams.
What do the next 3 months look like?
They look very dark and very disturbing.
Abrams and his partner Cindy Smith had 7 restaurants pre-pandemic. 1 is open now. 350 employees before COVID is now 50. Abrams has a brutal forecast of his own as cold weather puts the freeze on outdoor dining.
I think as many as 50% of New York City restaurants will go out of business.
Danny, that is bleak.
It's bleak.
1 in 6 restaurants open in March will have closed for good by year's end.
I think that we are at the point where we've been hanging on, and we will not make it through these next few months.
National Restaurant Association President Tom Benet says another 40% of those that have survived so far don't expect to make it another 6 months without help from Congress.
And quite honestly, the impact is well beyond just that restaurant. You think about those farmers, those suppliers who provide food.
But does news of the vaccine change your mindset at all? Hey, I've just got to get through the next couple of months and I'll be okay.
The first part, yes. I just got to get through the next couple of months. The I'm going to be okay part hasn't crept in yet.
And the cold weather ahead may very well keep it that way. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
Restaurant businesses and
From the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses are closed or only offering food.
We mentioned restaurants and bars in the city of Denver will close to sit-down service starting tomorrow morning. It is takeout or delivery only. Our Sean Chitness is live in downtown Denver with how local businesses are coming up with some creative ways to try and serve their patrons. Sean?
Well, Dominic, those businesses in the restaurant industry now have an important decision to make. Do they try to keep running with limited operations, or do they close completely? My Brother's Bar behind me here in downtown would love to be open right now with great weather and, of course, St. Patrick's Day, but they, for now, have made the difficult decision to close. It's known as the oldest bar in Denver, continuously running since 1873. But for now, My Brother's Bar will be closed until further notice.
Honestly, it's terrifying. I don't know what we're going to do, how long we're going to be able to maintain, how long we're going to be able to do this.
The local landmark knew this would be necessary and planned to close over the weekend. Now they may consider a way to keep their kitchen going and serve food for people on the go.
We are by nature a community gathering place, so telling people not to gather here is really challenging for us and honestly a little bit heartbreaking.
The Stanley Marketplace in Aurora also started planning over the weekend for a likely change in operations. Tuesday they'll launch Stanley To Go. Many of their locally owned vendors will provide a way to get food out to people without coming inside. Food trucks, a patio set up by the entrance, or lanes in the parking lot, keeping people from getting out of their cars when possible.
We're going to learn as we go, see what works, figure out how to do this as effectively as we can.
Colorado is moving in the right direction. A major update to the state's COVID-19 dial system went into effect this morning, loosening restrictions in a lot of counties.
We mentioned restaurants and bars in the city of Denver will close to sit-down service starting.
We can't go to the bars right now, but the drinks can come to you. Today, Governor Polis announced a change in policy, now allowing alcohol delivery. Dylan Thomas met with a restaurant owner today who's now delivering food, drinks, and his homemade pasta.
We mentioned restaurants and bars in the city of Denver will close to sit-down service starting tomorrow morning. It is taking
More than 100 In-N-Out employees have tested positive for COVID-19. It's the two biggest restaurant outbreaks in Colorado. 42 workers at the restaurant in Aurora have
many restaurants.
Welcome back to Quick Take a Break. I'm Jennifer Zabasaja, coming to you today from Brooklyn. So the restaurant industry has really had a hard time, as we know, this year, and they're pleading with Congress for targeted aid to help them stay in business, as the pandemic continues to force many establishments to shut their doors temporarily, and in many cases, even permanently. So this week for our series, The Rebuild, we're introducing you to one restaurateur who's sharing his story with us. Meet Dan Jacobs.
You're looking at an extinction level event of restaurants. I don't think people fully understand how desperate this is. We need this help, and we need the help now. A typical day before COVID was me being in the restaurant.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sam Sifton, an assistant managing editor of The Times and the founding editor of NYT Cooking. I'm here today with three of my colleagues, our chief restaurant critic, Pete Wells, our California restaurant
Two different tables and a
if it's that healthy to be in here when it's like this. Knowing that we're not open tonight, and we're not going to be open tomorrow night. We haven't been open for 2 months.
I have this anvil on my chest, not because I'm worried about my restaurants. Of course I am. I'm scared to death. But I'm really worried about this industry going down. Time is of the essence here, and the Senate is on recess. Look, I don't run the Senate, but I don't agree with people taking vacation when there's work to do.
No industry in America has lost more revenue or jobs.
I think the numbers are 11 million people that work in independent restaurants.
If we don't get help, 65 to 80% of all independent restaurants across this country will close their doors.
Every day, the stakes get higher. Every day, it gets more frightening and more suffocating. You have to wake up in the morning saying, okay, we're trying to save 500,000 restaurants and our own. What do I got to do?
Bobby, good afternoon from Las Vegas. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me today about your documentary, Saving the Restaurant. When I got the email about this documentary and a chance to speak to you, you know, being from Las Vegas, born and raised, you know, one of the restaurant capitals of the world, this is something where I knew a lot of people during the pandemic losing their restaurants, and it was just, it was felt all over the country, I'm sure, you know, and I just wanted to speak to you because this is something that's just people need to know about and your story. So, you know, from your experience, the pandemic caught in your restaurant business, how devastating was it for your business?
Well, it's brutally devastating, not just for me. I don't want to focus on Bobby's restaurants. I want to focus on how brutal it was for the entire industry across the United States. Were there some pockets that turned out okay? Yes, but they were anomalies. They were very specific anomalies, but for the most part, we have 500,000 independent restaurants across the United States, making up 11 million jobs, and another 5 million jobs needing restaurants to be healthy. And it was not and it still continues not to be a healthy environment right now, business-wise. It's just really, really brutal, and it's going to take a while. But yes, it was. You just can't. You just kind of look about how restaurants are built, and you look at 2019. The industry had an industry average is just a couple ticks away from.
Okay. What's his name? Ian.
I don't remember much from before the lockdown.
the coronavirus in Colorado.
Governor Polis just minutes away from holding a news conference at the State Department of Public Health in Glendale. Fox 31 is on it.
We opened and the pandemic hit. And it was like all the ideas that we thought that we could grow into were out the window. It was a whole new world. Downtown was a ghost town.
I think Bruto was a little bit of a struggle because we didn't have a main chef really steering the ship. I don't think we were really grounded in one person, which is probably where we were failing.
We're gonna stop trying to make money and we're just gonna try to do something good. That's gonna give us the next step.
Kelly is somebody that when he reached out to me in 2020, when George Floyd was killed and all the marchings in the street in Denver was slowly starting to erupt, and you were trying to find some way to calm it and bring some understanding to the situations and conversation, I guess you would say. All the restaurants were starting to shut down. One of my restaurants where I was at, Bijou's Curry Shop, was a victim towards this. When Kelly raised his hand and was like, hey, I have Bruto. Let's look at Bruto and try to figure out a way that we can use it and the space in a different way. And for me, I'm always, what can we do for the community? How can we use what we have and everybody can benefit? You know what I mean? And the first thing came to mind is let's try to work with it. And we came up with the Advocacy Kitchen. It was, for me, a great way of bringing the community.
Bruto wasn't working. It wasn't working before the pandemic. I just kept hearing over and over again that if you weren't making it before, you might as well close shop now. And that's all I was thinking about. And that's all, you know, my partner Matt, he was same way. Erica probably, everyone was just like, wasn't working before. We're not gonna fight for this one. Let it go and focus on, you know, where we can, whatever we can to sustain the group. I was working and trying to figure out things that would work. It was just every single night, less. We didn't even need to get mandated to close. We literally had not a customer. So despite like this being a real sort of dark and dismal, like slowly bleeding out kind of death, I was still like, we can continue on. It's not going to sink our company. Sometimes I was just like, sure, this is a distraction. I can just go on and focus on wolves or something, you know.
I'd break this shit if I...
Bruto wasn't working. It wasn't working before the pandemic. I just kept hearing over and over again that if you weren't making it before, you might as well close shop now. And that's all I was thinking about. And that's all, my partner Matt, he was same way. Erica probably. Everyone was just like, wasn't working before. We're not gonna fight for this one. Let it go and focus on, where we can, whatever we can to sustain the group. I was working and trying to figure out things that would work. It was just every single night, less. We didn't even need to get mandated to close. We literally had not a customer. So despite this being a real sort of dark and dismal, slowly bleeding out kind of death, I was still we can continue on. It's not gonna sink our company. Sometimes I was just sure, this is a distraction. I can just go on and focus on wolves or something, but I just wasn't ready to do that. We were committed to this idea with the dairy block, and I still want to make good on that. I still want to do my part. And, it was fun to kind of go well, nothing's going to work, so let's try something completely different.
Yeah.